Welcome to the Great Girlfriends podcast, where we discuss life, love, laughter, and everything in between. I'm your host, Sibylla Muti.
All right, great girlfriends. I feel like this is like a whole family reunion that's happening right now. I don't even know where to start because like I've told Melissa, who's my great girlfriend in my head, she smiled at me 2 years ago and I pocketed that smile. Like I legit kept that smile in my pocket. And I decided the day that I saw her smile at Essence Festival 2019 on the Walmart stage, backstage, that I was going to keep like honoring her smile and her spirit. So Melissa Fredericks, who's a marriage champion, she's the co-host of the Love Hour podcast. She's a wife, she's a mom, she has beautiful children. She has a beautiful becoming story. I love that. Her Caliversary just happened about, a week or two ago, Melissa?
Yes, 10 days ago.
10 days ago. And I just think the world needs to stop and honor how she is showing up for herself in every way. So Melissa Fredericks, welcome to the Great Girlfriend Show.
Thank you, Sybil. I'm so excited.
I am too, girl. I am too. So there's so much in a smile, right? And, you know, as a person, many moons ago, probably 20 years ago now, I've gone through depression. I have been through rape. I've been through severe, horrible relationship with alcohol, all the things. When I smile, like I'm trying to infuse you with this joy, with deliverance, with breakthrough, with all the things, because I know what it takes to smile, like to smile from your heart, your mind, your soul. It's a way of showing up for yourself and honoring your journey. And it costs every single time we do it. It costs us all the pain. It costs us all the experience. And it really does share God's light. And so, again, I'm saying all that to say, there's like a transmittance that happens when you smile. And there's a joy, an unapologetic joy, when you can deliver a smile that you don't even want to explain. You just like, I could smile. Everybody around me could be frowning. Chaos could be happening. The house could be burning, but I've got something on the inside. So you got that something on the inside kind of smile, Melissa. And oh, yeah. And I tucked it in my little, the jeans pocket, the little bitty pocket where you can't get, once you put that nickel in there, you can't get it out. I put it in that pocket. I was like, I'm keeping that. And whenever I go on IG, I see you and you always show up with that smile. I know it comes with a cost. I know it has a journey. I know it has a story, all the things. And so I want to get into that because our theme for this year is showing up for yourself. And that means that you have to release yourself from everyone else's expectation of who you are and all the things that they want you to be, and be the person that you really are called and destined and feel powered to be. So, Melissa, you're doing all the things, honey. And I just can't celebrate you enough. But what does your smile cost you? What has that been like for you?
What a great question. I love the way that this is even phrased in a way that I hadn't thought about before. And I love phrasing and words. The way sentences come together is actually one of my favorite things. So
me too.
That phrase. Yeah, that's literally one of my favorite things. It has cost me, it has cost me in a way that it was beneficial, though. It has cost me losing the expectations of people. It has cost me the pressures of what society deems as pretty, as beautiful, that often excluded who I am and what I look like. Once I was able to release and lose all of that, I feel like that's when the smile from the inside, as you say, was able to come out, because it was covered for so long by these external pressures and these external things and just who I thought I needed to be. And once I was able to release that and be my true, authentic self, we have a friend and he talks about, in your brand, you need to be aggressively genuine. And that's something that I strive to be, is just who I am in all of my authenticity. And sometimes that includes a lot of flaws and hiccups and mess ups, but even standing tall in that, you can't help but smile, because there's no part of me that I'm now ashamed of.
I love that. I love that. That's a healing moment. And that is a point. It's I don't believe that we ever come to a point of arrival where we're like, yo, I'm here and this is it. But I do believe we have these marking moments, these milestones that we have to honor. And I'd love to know, like, when did you reach that? What age were you at? What stage? Well, I'll tell you, for me, Melissa, when I gave birth to my first child, I was like, what the heck have we been doing as women? What? Why do we act so normal? Like, what? Humans come through us. Like, what? Yo, look, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. I could not. And I was like, never, ever will I act average. Like, I cannot, because a human, like a whole human. That, when you're pregnant and you like, I imagined, I was like, I think I'm pregnant. They say it, I see the picture, but how could a human be on the inside of me? Like, how did that happen? But God. And then this thing, when he came out, I was like, yo, don't you ever try to bring me basic ever again.
No, we are superheroes in real life.
In real life.
Yeah, we literally keep humanity going. Don't at me. That is true.
That's true. It's the whole truth. So what were those marking moments for you?
Yeah. So my first one, really, it's kind of the spawn of it all, is right when I was about 26 or 27, was a super pivotal year. And it started with this one interaction. My husband wanted to take me out on a date. And I'm going through my closet. By this time, 27, I have both of my kids. I feel like I'm very much, at least in my younger years, that I was very much like a checklist person. So my life looks like graduating from college, getting married, buying a house, having my kids. And I did it in that order. So I'm very much like check, check, check. Things are going according to plan. Working at a good job. Things are going well. My husband asked me to go out on a date. I look through my closet and was in tears. I mean, just immediately started crying. And the reason why is because I had realized that my closet was full of clothes that were either A, for work, and to paint that picture of what that wardrobe looks like, I was working at a bank as a assistant manager, and I've never met, that's no shade or disrespect, but I've never met a banker, specifically an assistant manager, that had really great fashion.
Right.
Very much slacks, a button up, some flat shoes, and that's kind of it. That's what I wore pretty much every day. So I was either wearing that with my husband on a date, or the alternative was the Sunday side, which included skirts down to my ankles and those same button-ups that were now repurposed for Sunday morning. And I was just like, how in the world am I to go out on a date where I need to feel feminine and sexy and date worthy, and my wardrobe looks like either frumpy or professional, or like I'm a doggone church mother, and I'm 27 years old. I don't know why we convince ourselves, as when we grow up churchy at least, or I convince myself, let me not speak in general. I convinced myself that the appropriate wardrobe for a 27-year-old young woman was that of a church mother. I don't know why I thought that was appropriate. And I don't want to say appropriate, modesty. I get all of that. But at the same time, I'm 27. Why am I dressing like this? And that was the first time I had like this aha moment. And I realized I needed an overhaul. And it started with, I call them campaigns that I started. And they were all about me beginning to love and like myself beyond my credentials. So graduated from college. Great. I can stand really tall and confident in that. I work at a good job. Great. I can stand really tall and confident in that. I'm a great mother. I'm a great wife. Great. I can stand really tall and confident in those. But when I look at myself in the mirror, that person I didn't like. That person I didn't want to be, and often wish I had been someone else or look like someone else. And that was that journey. So the very first campaign that I started was something that's gone, I don't want to say viral because it's not viral like that, but it has become a mantra for a lot of women on social media. And that is, I'm worth it as is, without change, without exception. It was the first campaign that I started to tell myself to not only feel good about what I offer and what I bring, but simply for who I am and what I look like. I think a lot of times as women, we are shamed into believing that's superficial. So a lot of us are standing in our credentials. And listen, there is nothing wrong with being smart and educated. You hear me? Listen,
That's
I'm
right.
completely for the smart and educated woman. I'm also for the smart, educated woman that likes who she is on the outside as well.
Yeah.
And that was the journey that I was on. Being able to look in the mirror and not cry, being able to look in the mirror and not only see my flaws, but be able to see the beauty in who I am in this chocolate coated skin, with this hair that I have, with this nose that I have, with these lips that I have, being able to like that part of myself as well. And so that was the first campaign. And that's what started, the whole journey for me. That was the pivotal moment for me.
That is so good. It's so hard because, most of us will live our lives in everyone else's expectation and their version and their hopes, and even the church and the job, all the definitions that they create. And people find themselves wrapped in their titles, and then the title gets stripped and the pandemic hits, and
Yep.
the marriage may end and the children reject or whatever, and they're going, who am I? And there was this beautiful gem of a person, a masterpiece sitting there the entire time.
Yes.
Entire time, the beautiful masterpiece. And that campaign, that exceptional language, like, brings life to the masterpiece. And it brings life to the spirit of a woman. Like, every single one of us has it, this unique beauty. And I really, I grew up in the 80s where there were so many rules about beauty, right? And there were so many, you had to be this, that, and the other, et cetera. And I'm now so proud of all the young, spirited women who are taking ownership of their bodies, who are bringing their voice to their bodies, their curves, their size, their lips, their nose, their ears, all the things, all the details that make us masterpieces. And I see that happening, and I'm just I couldn't celebrate them more because they get it so young, so early. And they
Yes.
won't have to go through the alcohol. They won't have to go through the low self-esteem, the things that I was dealing with and partying for the wrong reasons, and dealing with the church and all the stuff. They don't have to deal with it the same way. So what are some of the lessons, Melissa, that you gained as a woman? I hear the one of worth. I even saw recently that you said this is for every brown skinned girl that was told that she was too dark to wear pink, I think. And you had on, all the stuff. The society tells us we're one thing. What are some of the lessons that you've really, for sure? Like, now, woman, wife, mom, businesswoman, what do I know for sure?
I know that a lot of times we pass on our trauma and insecurities onto people, and then we internalize those things as fact. And once you're able to identify, listen, my mama, my daddy, whoever, these messages, even my pastor's wife specifically, may have given me these messages that in the end were really detrimental and harmful. And it took me a long time to overcome those. I'm at a point now where I recognize, you know what, I can forgive you. You didn't know any better. You didn't know. You were passing probably what you heard, or maybe what someone told you. And in order to what you thought was protecting me, you passed that on to me. But I'm able to sit in a freedom today that says, you know what? I like hot pink. I like it a lot. I like to wear it. I like the lipstick color. I like it on my eyes. And I can do and wear whatever I want and walk in that freedom. So I don't want to say excuse. I forgive people. I give a lot of grace, actually, is what I do. I end up giving a lot of grace retroactively to the authoritative figures in my life when I was younger that instilled their trauma and their fear in me. I retroactively give them grace. They didn't know any better. They didn't mean any harm. It wasn't their intent. And so I'm not going to hold you accountable to the scars and the bruises that I have now, because I've done and put in the work to heal beyond that. And it is my hope and my goal that I can do better by my kids.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. Can and will and are.
You are. Every time you shine your light on your spirit, every time you show up for yourself, every time you say that line that I'm just like, yes, honey, I am the reason and the occasion.
Yes. And that was another, honestly, it was one of my other campaigns during that whole, like I said, when I turned 27, those probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 campaigns that I did that I can remember off the top of my head. And that I am the reason and the occasion. It was a piggyback off the I'm worth it campaign, because once I understood that I had intrinsic value, it's one of my favorite things to remind myself. I have intrinsic value simply because I am. It's like looking at a diamond. You understand you're going to protect and honor the value of a diamond simply because it is.
Yep.
Simply because it is. And once I was able to understand that I have that same intrinsic value simply because I am, it changed my world. I don't have to wait. Again, I'm the reason and the occasion was because once I went on the I'm Worth It campaign and I was like, okay, let me change my wardrobe. It was called my Sex Me Over campaign. And so I went through and I overhauled my wardrobe and I was trying to, buy clothes that I felt were just more appropriate for a young woman that was married in 27 and wanted to feel sexy and all of those things for her husband and beyond her husband for myself.
Yeah.
And then I bought all these clothes and they would just sit in the closet.
Right, because that's what we do. That's what we do.
Exactly.
We buy them and we look at them, admire them in the closet, and we wait on an invite. Like somebody's going to invite me here, or maybe I'll go here. And yeah, we're guilty. I'm guilty.
Yeah, we're all guilty. And the thing about it is, as adults, you don't have, the dances that you had when you were in high school. You don't have a prom to look forward to. You're not going to the football game. You had all of these quote unquote reasons or occasions or events to get dressed, and they kind of dissipate as you become an adult because life, you go to work as an adult. That's kind of it. Right. And so the events are no longer as frequent. And so you end up feeling like you don't have reasons to get dressed up. And so you find yourself in a rut. That's what I was in. I was in a rut. And so I decided, well, if I have this intrinsic value, then I'm enough of a reason. Yes. I am the reason. I am the occasion. So if it's a random Thursday and I want to get dressed and someone has to ask me, well, where are you going? Where are you going? It's me. I'm going to the living room.
Right.
What's the event? I am the event. I am the reason. I am the occasion. And being able to say that with confidence, because quite literally that is enough of a reason, period. That's enough of a reason.
You know what that teaches too? It teaches us to stop justifying everything for everyone else. I don't owe you an explanation. I don't owe you a justification. I can oblige you, but I don't have to. I can do, we have to, that release is so big. It's so big because we have been so conditioned to make sure we fit, make sure we're compliant, right? Make sure that whoever the regulation committee is, make sure we're
the regulation committee.
Like there's a whole committee somewhere, and we're in our head, we are accustomed to committing to their terms, their guidelines, and it has limited and restricted us, and it has held us back. And I'm here to celebrate the fact that the reason and the occasion is so alive and well for you, because the way that you show up, let me tell you something. First of all, I don't see any navy in your wardrobe. So I don't know if you just burnt the color or if you decide. All I'm seeing is shoulder. I'm seeing flare. I'm seeing vibrance. I'm seeing patterns. I'm seeing texture. I'm seeing a full palette, like all of it. It's all alive. The reason and the occasion is in full effect. So I love that.
The other thing, it's so funny as you were thinking, or as you were saying, the justification committee with all of their terms and all of that. Something you keep saying is about showing up for yourself. I might actually repost that video. But one of the other things is that if we feel like we have to justify it, then that's telling us we're not enough of a reason. And so we want to shrink. We don't want to be big. We don't want to take up all of our space. But when you understand your intrinsic value, when you understand that you are enough of a reason, when you understand that you can exist without excuses, then you can show up, and you can show up big.
That's right.
You can show up fully erect and tall because you deserve it. There's no shrinking. And if you want a justification, I want you to know that the justification starts and ends with me.
That's right.
And that's enough.
That's right.
And not feeling bad about that, not feeling like you're being boastful or showy or showboaty. No, ma'am, Miss Pam, you're enough of a reason. There is an intrinsic value in that.
That's right. That's right. You know, I had this conversation with a mentee the other day, and I said, you know, sometimes we ask too many questions. We need to make more statements. We have to learn to make more statements.
Yes, I love that.
Put a period at the end and stop asking so many questions. Sometimes we ask too many, and it leaves us open to too much from the outside.
Oh, sure enough.
You know, and it just completely dilutes the value of what's happening on the inside. So we have to do that. Do a better job as women of putting periods and not question marks at the end of everything. And that's one of my campaigns. I'm like,
I love that.
So what have you learned about love? What do you now know for sure? I love your marriage. I love the way that you two make space for one another. You both share space. You both share energy. You share love. You share connection. The way he claps for you, the way you clap for him. There, you know, the boundaries that you set, the safe space where each person has room to grow. I told you, I'm a 15-year wife, and I know what it's like to be able to set that pavement and have that foundation where everyone can grow. Like the dog can grow, whoever can grow, anybody coming in contact is going to be blessed. So talk to me about what you've learned about love over the course of you being the reason and occasion, showing up for yourself on the campaign.
Yes, love it. So one thing that I have learned about self-love, one thing that I have learned about romantic love is that it all starts with you. Love, relationship, the relationship you have with yourself, the relationship you have with others starts with you. And what that looks like is doing the work, first of all, to understand what makes you tick.
Yes.
Part of the reason we're watching this show called Married at First Sight this season is a mess. This whole season, I'm just like, what is y'all doing? Okay, I do not understand. It's just a whole entire train wreck, but we just continue to watch. But there is every week, faithfully. But there is this couple, Vincent and Brianna. They're super cute. Really, really like watching them. They give me all the feels. But what keeps happening with them is that Vincent clearly has a trigger. Clearly. I have diagnosed the trigger as embarrassment. And what he keeps saying is that, or he is interpreting embarrassment to mean disrespect.
Yes.
And so what he keeps telling his wife is, you keep disrespecting me. And even last night's episode and just the few that I've watched over the course of time, it's like, if you don't understand that your trigger is embarrassment, meaning if I get embarrassed, I will shut down. Right. If I get embarrassed, I get irritated. I'm mean. I'm angry. I'm whatever. And these are things that he just kind of shuts down, and he gets kind of very irritable, and his tongue is very sharp. If you don't know that about yourself, then you don't know how to tell people how to interact with you, how to treat you. And so he keeps telling Brianna, you keep disrespecting me. And she's like, okay, I won't disrespect you. Well, what does disrespect mean to her? I'll change my tone. Well, changing your tone won't prevent him from being embarrassed. That means, you don't like when I rush you. Okay, great. You interpret being rushed as disrespect. Great. I won't rush you. Well, guess what? That's not the root of the issue.
That's right.
But if you don't know yourself enough to say, I understand and know these things, these 3 things, 4 things, 5 things, whatever, to be true about me, you can't teach people how to treat you.
That's right.
And that's the problem. I think for a lot of us, we don't often have the language, the words, or we just simply do not know ourselves enough. And so we don't know how to show up in these other relationships. And so we find ourselves in these cycles where people keep treating us the same way. It's because we don't have the language to say, hey, so listen, I don't like this very specifically. And so if this scenario comes up, you can respond to me like this. You can treat me like this. I'll respond like this. It just, let me teach you how to handle me. If you don't know that, child, all your relationships you're going to be wondering why none of them working.
That's right. That's right. I keep meeting the same man is what I hear. I'm like,
exactly.
The same person. You're the denominator here. Like you have to really be willing to own your role in this.
Absolutely.
You have to
and
own
do that self-work.
That's right. That's right. That whole, I was never a princess story girl. I was never got caught up in the idea of it. And I just never really bought into it. But I have learned that so many women are waiting on the prince to come and save them and rescue them from themselves. And then they get into marriage and find out, wait a minute. He doesn't do all the work. Once he picks me up, puts me on the horse and rides off, you still have to do some work. Like what? And that is very disappointing for a lot of women. And, my other campaign, my personal help a husband, help a wife campaign.
Yes.
Because I believe in marriage. I believe in the power of it. I'm so happy in this thing. But I also know that it is just a word, and you define what goes behind that word. Absolutely. You get to make it what it is for you. But that includes a whole lot of building, curating, cultivating, and detoxing from things, releasing yourself, all the internal work. So I hear what you're saying wholeheartedly about that. And great girlfriends, I hope you're listening to understand. And so they know it's not just me saying it. It's this is wife wisdom. This is something that we've learned across, years and tears, that you have to be willing.
Years and tears.
Years and tears, honey. Years and tears. And most of the tears you're crying is because you learn that you're not perfect. You're like, wait, I'm not what I thought I was here. I need to correct this, or, he's shining a light on this. And yes, they have their own work, but we're so much better when we do show up for ourselves and do what we know is good for us,
Absolutely. I think that's the biggest thing is doing the self-work and showing up for yourself is for you. Yeah. A lot of the things that I say, my husband and my children and the world are a benefactor, but they're not the driving force behind me doing the self-work. It's me. Again, I have intrinsic value. I am worthy enough to do the work, not because I want to be a better wife for my husband, not because I want to be a better mother to my children. Now, listen, those are all they benefit,
of course,
but putting yourself first, recognizing your worth first, that's the primary goal here. I have revamped my whole life to recognizing that I'm enough.
Yes. What's interesting about that is in doing that, you've been able to launch your brand. And I know that feeling inside is like butterflies, and it's like, like it's like, oh my God, all the feels, right? And in doing this, let's be clear, because life is happening and life is full, and you have 2 small children. So there's plenty of things you could be doing, right? So there's always something to do, and there's always someone to support. There's always someone who's calling your name. How did you know it was time for you to step out and say, let's go, let's press play on this, and let's make this thing happen?
Ooh, girl. So to the point of the Cinderella story, my brand story is not Cinderella. I was Jonah is often what I say. I was absolutely Jonah. So probably 3 years ago, I think, I want to say 3 or 4 years ago, I was working full time. I've always been the kite in my dynamic with Kevin. He's the kite, I'm the string. And what we often say is he's the dreamer. And I'm the one that's like, okay, well, just in case the dream goes bust, like I'll be the one over here with the job and the 9 to 5 and the benefits and like the 401k. Always been that person. And at the beginning of our first tour, my husband was like, I want to do this with you. Let's do this together. And I was like, okay, I'm with it. And then I chickened out. No lie. I was like, oh my God, what if it doesn't work? Like, I'm scared. Instead of quitting my job, I'll go part-time instead. So I talked to Kev was mad at me, but I was like, I couldn't do it. I was Jonah. And so I went part-time we told my job about it, maybe 2 months beforehand. So we could figure out what we were going to do, because they were actually going to promote me, which bothered my soul, because I was like, God, maybe I'm doing the wrong thing. Because like, why were they about to promote me and I'm about to quit? Like, it didn't make sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, the week, I mean the literal week, like that Friday, and I was supposed to start going part-time the following Monday. My corporate office comes into our facility. I work for an aerospace company, and they have an all hands meeting. So we all go into the cafeteria and they announce that at the end of the year, October, November, they were closing down our facility and moving it to Ohio.
Mm-mm.
And I felt like God said, you're hardhead. I told you to quit, and now the whole place got to go down in shambles.
Right. Yes.
The whole building got to go down in shambles, and all these folks got to lose their job because your hardhead self didn't just quit. Because I really feel like God knew Melissa ain't going to do what I told her to do, because I'm so scary, and just like stability matters to me. And so I felt like he literally kicked me out. And do what I told you to do, period. I said what I said. Did you hear me? Now to go and do it, girl. And so that's what started my journey. And I just decided, listen, tell the truth, shame the devil, because I didn't decide. After October, let me go and tell the truth. So I quit. Well, I didn't quit. Everybody was laid off. I get into this thing, start working with Kevin. And it was hard. It was the first time that we were working so closely together, because again, as the kite, he was off kind of doing the dreamers thing. I've always been the worker, the 9-to-5er. And so while we talked about and I was aware of what was going on in his world, I wasn't fully immersed because I was still working. I was still doing my job. And so it was the first time we were working really closely together. And it was a very difficult transition. And so as a result of that, I kept all of my clothes, in my worker clothes, in my closet.
I love worker clothes. I'm so weak for that right now.
It's a very specific style of clothing that I wear to work. And so they were all in my closet. And I remember Kevin and I, it just wasn't gelling as easy as I imagined it would. And I remember listening to a podcast by my leak. And she was talking about doing an aggressive edit. And she talked about it in some other form. And the message that I got from it was that the only way to make room for the future and what's to come is by editing your past. And after that episode, I went in my closet and I got rid of all of my worker clothes to make room for, literally in my closet, but figuratively in my life, for what the future was. And I feel like that was the turning point for me, where I fully launched into the deep. And by this time, it's probably 6, maybe even 9 months later, after my last day on my job, because I felt like I was still holding on to, just in case this don't work out, I can still go back to work. I don't even got to rebuy no wardrobe. Like, I still got the clothes in here. I still had really great connections with everybody that was on my job, because some of them got, obviously hired in other aerospace companies locally if they did move to Ohio. I was a great worker. I knew I could just text them, hey, I'm interested in a job, whatever, get hired, no big deal. Holding on to that, I felt like was also holding me back from my future. And I mean that like literally and figuratively, like in my closet, literally there was no space for anything else, but also figuratively in my heart, in my mind, I wasn't making room for the future. And that was the turning point that allowed me to lean into Miss Kevonstage as an entrepreneur, as a brand, leaning into that creative space that I so often was able to define myself out of, because I always thought I was just a 9-to-5er.
Girl, and imagine all this magic that would have, I'm going to say magic, but all the gift that would have been invisible had you stuck with, pursuing another 9-to-5, because you want that stability. And look at all the stability that you have. Look at it. Come on, somebody. Had nothing to do with that job.
Nothing to do with it. Nothing to do with it. And I honestly, truly couldn't have imagined where I am today. I couldn't have imagined it. And there's still so much that I want to do, but I couldn't have imagined being where I am today. And I know that aggressive edit was definitely, that was a turning point.
We all need an aggressive edit. Thank you, Myleik, for that. That is an incredible term that I think we can each, like carry that, put that in your purse, because that is that's essential. And look, like you said, all the worker clothes, like the back of the closet, because we all have it. Everyone has it. Yes. That's that plan B side of the closet. And it's
absolutely.
And even, I even think about the athleisure that I have completely fallen. I mean, I'm just so athleisure deep. It's insane. I'm deeply embedded in athleisure that I need to get rid of, because it is worker clothes, because it only represents one facet. This is my COVID story. I don't want my life to look like my COVID story.
The COVID story. That's good.
I got all these beautiful gowns in my closet that I'm about to flex at Walmart. And
yes, come on Walmart and get this couture.
You gonna get these boots. You about to get all the flex. They're gonna be like, "Where's she going?" Yeah. I'm going to Kroger, because that's what I'm doing.
Yes, we're here for this.
Oh my God, Melissa, I could keep you forever. I know I can't literally, but I could figuratively keep you forever, because this is such a coffee and just combo. Like, I'm just melting over this. This other piece that I just have to ask you about, which is the motherhood, and I know there's nothing greater, like in my life, my children are, my God, who knew that a love like that existed? And now I understand God better, because I have these children, and every time I correct them, I hear God correct. Like, that's what I'm saying to you. I'm like, oh gosh, I hear it.
Yes.
What do you know for sure as a mom?
Girl, that I ain't got it figured out, and that's okay.
It's minute by minute. I know.
Minute by minute.
I know.
Every day is new. I thoroughly enjoy watching my boys become young men. Sometimes I struggle with how I am raising them in comparison to how I was raised.
Preach it.
I be struggling. Want to go back to that kind of toxic now, because I said so. That's why. Don't ask me nothing else.
Yes.
Lord have mercy. I promise you I do. Oh Lord, Jesus.
Yes. Oh, we talk about it all the time. My husband's like, okay, this conscious parenting, like, I'm like, you just gotta stick with it. I know it feels crazy. And then my mom is with us, so my mom is looking at me like, for real? She's Jennifer Lewis on Blackish. She's sitting on the edge of the counter like, did that just happen? Are y'all really doing? And I'm like, Mom, stop. We're trying to do something different. Trying to get them as little therapy as possible. That's my goal.
Yes, same. I promise you, Melissa of a few years ago judges the Melissa of today. Like, oh girl. Oh, so that's what y'all doing. Oh, this that new.
It's that new. I know.
Girl. But in some ways, listen, as frustrated as I am, in some ways it makes me so proud. I remember having a conversation, and my youngest son asked me a question that was clearly a challenge to authority and a way of thinking that at his age, I didn't have the autonomy to think outside of what was already structured for me.
That's right. Yeah.
And it makes I'm very proud. I'm just like, wow, I'm doing something right. And then again, the Melissa of yesterday is like, girl, you ain't doing nothing right. First of all, you said what you said, and now he got feedback. Tell him
these kids talking back. Right.
Yes.
Let your kid talk back to you.
That's talking back.
You. Yes.
Yes. Girl, you mean tell me you got opinions? Do you got a job? Because how do you have an opinion?
Right. You didn't earn that. You didn't cook nothing. Like, what are you doing?
Girl, for real. What do you mean you don't like this? Oh, that means you're going to have sleep for dinner? Because what I made is what we eat, and that's it.
Right. Oh my
Girl.
God. I know the Sybil of yesterday, finds this laughable because I was completely muted in my childhood. And whatever I
Yes.
felt, I took to bed, I took to that pillow. Like I wasn't even
Yes.
praying about it. I was just crying about it. I just was not doing that.
Listen,
Wasn't
so
doing
true.
it.
Oh
Mhm.
my gosh. And I tell Kev, actually, I'm like, again, I'm so proud because at 37, I feel like I'm just now finding my voice again. Because
Mhm.
again, I was muted as a
Mhm.
child,
Mhm.
carried that into my young adulthood. And now I'm like, oh, girl, have an opinion, have a thought, think about,
Mhm.
challenge something. And my kids are doing that at 15 and 13. And I'm just like, well, 14 and 12. And I'm just like, I'm so proud of them, because I don't want you again to have to go to therapy that I have to
Mhm.
go to like find my voice again.
That's right. That's
So
right.
good.
And then the inner dialogue becomes a lot less conflicting. These
Mm-hmm.
kids are certain, like their self-awareness.
Yes.
It blows my mind. My 9-year-old told us that my son was taking up too much emotional space. I said, oh, oh. And on one hand, I was like, no, she didn't. On the other hand, I was like, you go, girl. Like, you go, girl. Sybil of yesterday, Sybil of today. And my husband and I had to decide that we were happy. We were like, no, this is good. We're
Yes.
this is good. But you're absolutely right. We're curating and we get to take all the lessons and teach our children to be the things that they deserve to be and show up the way they can earlier. Like we didn't have that. And
Yes.
especially as church kids, you most certainly
Oh,
definitely did
girl.
not have any of that. So,
Mhm.
I know exactly what you mean. Melissa, what will be your legacy?
Oh, what a great question.
Yeah, I know. What do you? I feel like I see what you're working toward. I know what they're gonna be saying about you, but I want to hear from you. What will be your legacy?
Oh man. Oof. I hope that it will be that I lived authentically and genuinely,
Mm-hmm.
and that I inspired women to do the same.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I hope it would
Mm-hmm.
be. Every day, that's what I'm striving to do.
Mm-hmm.
And beyond being aspirational, I hope to be a bit more relatable and inspirational. That it's more than just like, oh, go girl, yeah, 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 I see you. It's also, child, if Melissa can do it, let
Mm-hmm.
me tell you something. I know I can do it too,
Mm-hmm.
because I am more like the people watching me do the things than I am not. I have to
Yes.
force myself. I still have to encourage myself. I still have extremely vulnerable moments once I hit submit or post. And it's like,
Yes.
I hope, yeah. I still definitely have those moments.
Mm-hmm.
But if you watch my journey and you see where I am, I hope that it inspires you to go after what you want to do as well. So yeah, I would hope that I'm aggressively genuine, that I am authentic, and that through my transparency and through my journey, I'm inspiring women to do and live out their truth and do the same.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Melissa, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm beyond grateful.
Ooh.
Beyond grateful.
Great girlfriends, did you enjoy this week's episode of the podcast? If so, would you please give us your amazing review on iTunes? Every single review helps another great girlfriend get plugged into the podcast, into the community. Speaking of community, make sure you join our Facebook group, The Great Girlfriends. You follow us on Instagram at The Great Girlfriends and on Twitter at _great_GFS. Last but not least, we'd like to thank my amazing husband, Kwaku, Sam and Dilly, and all of you for being a part of the global community that makes us so strong. Please remember to share with your friends. Keep listening and keep being a great girlfriend. I'm Sybil Amuti, and I'm out. Peace.